Welcome to the National Black Leadership and Empowerment Project series, Ask an Elder.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robin Okinawa. I am currently a senior at Dickinson College, double majoring in environmental studies and philosophy. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and I would say I still have not adjusted to the Northeast, but that's okay because Dickinson is having beautiful weather. On campus, I am involved in the Black Student Union, Hypnotic Dance Team, Divest Dickinson, and I am currently employed in the admissions office and the Center for Advising Internships and Lifelong Career Development. And I'm very honored to be here today and getting the chance to speak with Mr. Ted Mack. And quite the impressive resume that we have for you, Mr. Mack. He was born in Memphis, Tennessee. He attended Hampton Institute and has a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from Mount St. Mary's University. He served over 35 years in the military and also served as the chief of Army Intelligence Agency's counterterrorism team. He's also a charter member and the first to be inducted into the Military Intelligence Hall of Fame while on active duty. Mr. Mack is also a founding member of the Northern Arundel Cultural Preservation Society, where he coordinated the building of the award-winning exhibit, Trails, Tracks, Tarmac. He chairs the Annapolis Heritage Commission, serves on the board of the Maryland Historical Society, Historical Annapolis, and the Reginald F. Lewis Museum. He is a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity and a 33rd degree Mason, and he and his wife Betty are the parents of 3 sons. It is now my pleasure to welcome Mr. Theodore Mack to our Ask an Elder series. Hello, Mr. Mack.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing well today. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Oh, of course, it was easy. It was easy. But I'm super excited to sort of have you here and talk today about so many important topics. I think right now we're definitely in the epicenter of a lot of political activism and a lot of change. And so I think the perspective from elders is so interesting because there's so much to learn because of the fact that, you know, we have been repeating ourselves for a long time. So I kind of want to start off talking about voting and the election, just because we have a presidential debate tonight and, you know, all those things going on. I was excited this year because this is actually my first year getting to vote in a presidential election.
Great,
So this is my
great.
first sort of presidential election voting memory. But could you tell us a little bit about your first experience with voting and what that was like for you?
Well, my first experience was here in Maryland because I was in the Army and lived in Baltimore City. And I had the opportunity to vote. And guess who I voted for back
I was
then?
going to ask you who was running in this election.
He got kicked out. Who was that?
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Yes, so I don't even want to call his name anymore. But
Okay, you don't have to. That's all right.
but
Understood. Understood.
uh, that was a time when uh, communications and getting to know
Hmm.
who were running for office and the value of that office and what was expected of them. Uh, I only had the opportunity to hear Richard Nixon, so uh, I he spoke very well, but I
Yeah.
didn't know that he was not telling the
The
truth,
whole truth.
the whole truth. So I voted for Richard Nixon, and from that point on, I made it my I just made it part of who I am
Hmm.
to make sure that I never vote without having a full understanding of who I'm
Yeah.
voting for and what it is that we as African Americans are looking for. Uh, and
And a
because
candidate.
yes, because in the military, I found it very easy to do a number of things. Uh, I do not know what it was like in civilian life at that time.
Right.
Since I spent 30 plus years in the military, uh, 35 to be exact. I joined the, I guess, the regular people, or uh, and I went to work for a company that that I enjoyed very well.
Mhm.
FEMA.
Wow.
You've heard of FEMA
Yeah.
in Washington, D.C. And at FEMA, I had a responsible position because it had to do with intelligence and
Mhm.
classified documents and classified things that were going on. So as it turned out, my military background suited me for that position. And I really enjoyed the position, then decided to go on my own and
Yeah.
create my own business. As I have a travel agency, and I own the T&B Custom Framing and Art.
That's amazing. And continuing on sort of down the line, moving on from your first voting experience, what are some of the reasons you would say voting is very important, and something you might say to kids now who are maybe thinking they shouldn't vote because their vote doesn't matter or things like that?
Well, first of all, we need to get rid of that one vote does not matter. All votes have carried the same weight, the same weight. So how is it that it cannot matter? Uh, Voting is everything
Mhm.
because we, uh, I was reading a book by a young lady that's talking about class. And we are in a certain class. Uh, and we've been in that class for a long time.
And so
We've
it's time to
seen
break that.
we've seen some improvements, but we've also seen some fallbacks, and we are nowhere near where we think we should be even today.
Hmm.
And that's a long, long time. That's over 200 years. 200 years of not being a full person.
Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely, I think that's an important aspect of voting, the fact that we didn't always have this opportunity. And so having it is something important to practice because that's a type of freedom and right that we get.
Yeah, I remember when I first learned to drive, like my grandmother wanted me to drive her to vote in Arkansas, and I
Hmm.
drove her to the post office, and the postmaster was at the door to meet the black voters that came into his place to vote. And he would say, "Oh, hello, auntie and uncle." They didn't call you by name. They that that was on a day like that because they were trying to influence you. Just give me your ballot, and I'll put it in the box for you.
Hmm.
My grandmother would say, "Well, let me just look around a while in your store." And she would look around until she got to the box, and she would put her own vote in the box, which means that he couldn't get it out and do something with it.
Exactly.
There were people who were coming, and they would stop at the door and hand him their ballot, and they would go back and get in their car and go home. And of course, he would fold it up and put it in his pocket.
Hmm.
So I witnessed this as a teenager because I was very young. I didn't even have a driver's license, but I was able to drive her to the post office.
And I think that's an interesting experience that you remember as a kid, because now the way that we're voting with COVID-19 sort of altering, balloting or polling places and things like that. And the whole controversy with the post office and mail-in ballots, we're seeing a lot of voter suppression be less disguised than it ever was before. And a lot of people are starting to call attention to those kinds of things, and people are being very careful about their votes. I did a mail-in ballot, and even during Georgia's runoff between Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams, my vote wasn't counted because I did a mail-in ballot, and it was never registered by the post. So I think that's like a very important statement in the fact that we're still having these issues with voter suppression and people's votes being discarded.
Yeah, I know. I know the young lady. She is just brilliant, and I sort of was hoping.
We all were. We all were. We definitely all were. But I think
sort of hoping. I was really.
Yeah,
I found every reason why she should be.
For sure.
But she will be there. I guarantee you, she will be there.
There are definitely big things down the road for her, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think too, another important statement with that is the fact that we're starting to see more women of color. We're starting to see more diverse, people going into politics because they understand the ways that they can make a difference. I mean, having Kamala Harris on the ticket for the Democratic Party is huge. Could you talk a little bit about, Kamala Harris even just going out the way she is right now?
Yeah, in fact, I have a friend in San Francisco who knows her very well. He's from this area, but he lives in San Francisco now.
Oh.
And she's self-built. In other words, she earned everything that she got, and for her to be in that position in California,
mm-hmm.
and at that level, the top in the whole state,
yeah,
she's going to be okay. She's going to be okay, and I'm very proud of her.
Absolutely.
Of
yeah,
course, that was a choice too, but I was
for Joe Biden.
I was looking for someone from the South that particular.
Yeah, low key,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's still so empowering to see Kamala and her poise, her knowledge, her grace, her wisdom out there, and just showing people that everyone can do this,
And everyone can.
Exactly. Something else that I would love to hear your perspective on is this sort of movement that we're seeing right now between Black Lives Matter, and it's even going global with the conflict in Nigeria. And we're just seeing an overall sort of outrage against the injustices that have been going on for so long. I was wondering what your perspective on these things were, and sort of how you're digesting all of the things that are going on right now, because it is a lot.
Well, when you introduced me, you were talking about my background, and part of one of I was head of the counterterrorism team, and the counterterrorism team this was Army-wide, worldwide. I wasn't covering one military base or whatever. I was covering the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that many people do not know about because it's not something that we talk about that much, because there's a lot of stuff that we do is classified. But you have infiltrators, people who will join your ranks because they want to do something bad. And you have to make sure, this is why we have security clearances. You have to make sure that that person's background would support him or her being a part of, say, Black Lives Matter.
Right.
You don't want renegades in that organization because they can do more damage than one would think about. If you saw the last night when after President Obama finished his speech, there were some agents, well, not agents, but some FBI people who rushed in and to talk about someone tampering with our ballot system. And one of them said that one was against Trump, that they were doing something to make sure that Trump would not be elected. That was not true.
Right.
That was not true. It was just the opposite. But here you have a situation like that. It turns out to be wrong. But it's out there now. And once it's out there,
it cannot go back.
You cannot take it back.
Exactly.
Cannot take it back. So people like hopefully you and myself, we know when we hear something, we have to evaluate it to see what kind of damage it's going to cause and do something about it.
Right.
Something different. And because if we don't, then we're going to end up fighting a war with someone who it's been spoken so often that I don't mind saying it again, who is just not fit to be in that office.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely don't disagree. And I like that a lot of the movements that are happening right now are being taken on by people who are committed to making it completely, free of those people who are not working for us. And you see a lot of young people now stepping up and saying, I'm going to dedicate my life to activism and I want to make the world better for everyone. And I think that's a beautiful thing that's happening right now among the election and dealing with someone who is unfit in office. A lot of good is coming out of it in a way.
And that gets back to your Black Lives Matter question that you asked. The organization, they have to find a way to make sure that the wrong people do not become a part of that organization, because it will do irreparable damage to them. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you have any, having worked in counterterrorism, would you have any advice on how to structure such an organization, or like how Black Lives Matter should proceed to be sure that there's no kind of infiltration like that?
Well, yes, because if you're bringing people on, and you just can't be walking along and someone walk up and join you, and that's it, because you know who's walking up and joining you.
Yeah.
So you have to ask a few questions to see who, see if they are for real.
Right.
So where are you from? We're in Pittsburgh, and and I'm from Pittsburgh, but I don't know if I've met you before.
Mm-hmm.
So if not, then who are you and where are you from? Then have something to back it up, like the driver's license or something, an address, and you get that from the driver's license or any other documents that the person might have. And then you would also want to know, why is it that you want to be with?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to offer? In other words, what can we depend on you
Right.
of doing? And once you do your vetting, we call it vetting. Once you vet the person, then you can have some assurance that it's okay. But if you do not vet them, what's going to happen is what happened recently and what's
Mm-hmm.
still happening.
And people are always looking to discredit,
Yes.
anything that we try to do.
Yes. Yes.
For sure.
And people who really want to be a part of it, they want to be a part bad enough to make sure that they share with you their reasons, where they're from,
Mm-hmm.
and the role that they would like to play. And
Right.
so if the person gives you a hard time, you can't ask me that. Then you say, well, you just have to say, I'm sorry, but we can't use someone
Mm-hmm.
that kind of an attitude or that kind of an approach.
I definitely think it's different now in a way too, because of the way that information and things are spread through social media. So anyone can put, hashtag BLM in their bios or on their pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can do that, but you remember I said driver's license. You
Yeah,
have to
like
have
some kind of.
something. You have to have something that that is for real.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them may not even carry any documents with them. They may not carry it because they don't want you to know, and they don't want you to frisk them to see what they have.
Yeah.
And then you know that you definitely don't want to be a part of that,
The red
because
flag.
they may be after you.
Right, exactly.
Because you may be the leader and they may be after you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I think that's an important perspective, I think, for anyone interested in activism to sort of be aware of, because you always want people around you who are for you. So
Yeah.
for sure.
Look at Martin Luther King. He was surrounded by people that had been vetted. People vet themselves, when they're real serious. And this young boy,
Mm-hmm.
a young boy, when he went to Martin Luther King, and he just passed away not too long ago. Congress, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mr. Lewis.
There you go. Mr. Lewis was the creme de la creme.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was everything.
Sure.
And there are plenty of them. There are plenty of Lewises out there.
Absolutely.
Plenty Lewises out there. But some of them do not have the courage to do what this one did.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can recruit and bring someone like that on, and there are just so many of them out there, we can do well.
It'd be powerful.
Right, but we can't do well if we get into a march and all of a sudden you look back, it's gotten larger, but you don't know who those people
If you
are
don't know who.
behind you. You better
For sure.
stop and spend some time,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they're okay.
I want to transition a little bit and talk
Mhm.
about some more current events, but not necessarily voting related. Obviously, we're doing this interview over Zoom. So we don't have the opportunity really to meet people in person anymore. COVID-19 has really taken over a lot of this year. At first, I'll just ask, how are you doing? I know quarantine can be like isolating and it can make people feel, you know, a type of way, but how was your experience in quarantine, and is everything going well for you?
Everything is going well. Now, you met my wife, and my old middle son is with me, and he has a son that will come and stay with us sometime. And he was here for the first son, my youngest son. That both names are Theodore H. Mack. One's the second and the other's the third. And I have no nomenclature beyond my name. Someone wants me to say senior, but no, that's it. No. No, but he's his work allows him to work from here. And so we have a Wi-Fi system set up, and he's got space upstairs in an area where he doesn't interrupt anyone. You know, he's on the top floor and we on the middle floor, and it works real fine. So between the two of them, the sons, they did the shopping earlier because of our age.
Yeah.
And then when things lit up a little bit, we in fact we went shopping this morning, and so we did our shopping, and of course Ted, I call him my son Ted. Ted was at the door when we got back to make sure that we were okay. So he saw us with our mask on, and we all carried this little thing around.
I have my mask as well. The mask is always handy.
Oh, beautiful! Yeah, you got the Army colors.
I do. Yeah. People were making masks and selling them in the beginning of COVID, so I was like, I would love to support people, so I bought so many masks. So I have one basically for like every outfit.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and definitely COVID had all of its bittersweet moments too. Like you had this opportunity to be with your son and your grandson, and I was at home for such a long time, which was great. But sometimes there can be those moments where you're like, oh man, I just would give anything to go anywhere else right now.
Yeah, my youngest son is in Memphis, and he has an event center. It's like a club building. It's where he lives, and it also has all of the bells and whistles for events. Sometimes they film movies there and a number of other things. And he's there by himself now, and hopefully Ted, my son here, will end up being with him pretty much all the time because he can work from there as well as work from here.
Yeah.
And my wife really wants to go back to that area because that's where we came from, and then this comes up, and I'm not willing to get out there until I know which way this is going.
Exactly.
Because Tennessee and Arkansas have very high rates.
Yeah.
And higher than Maryland. And so we right now we're in the waiting mode to see what will take place before we get in the wagon and head back.
For sure, yeah. The uncertainty has definitely, being even on the university, like on the college campus, there's so much uncertainty that I think makes people nervous about making big decisions, which is completely understandable.
Yes, it does. And you know, I've been around long enough to know that you don't worry about what you can't do. Maybe you probably want to spend time worrying about what you can do so that you do it right.
Right. No, that's great advice.
But what you can't do, you just have to give it up.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do it, if you can't stop your car, you're going to run into something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you can't do it, don't even give it a try.
Yeah.
Don't start the car.
Don't even get in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay inside.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's how I've been taking it. And my wife, we met in high school.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yep. You want to know how many years?
How many?
Take a guess.
Well, you've been together for 30, right?
How about doubling that plus?
That's a long time.
Yep.
If you can make it through all that, you can definitely make it through quarantine together.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and we are good buddies. We're real good.
That's so sweet.
She likes to play her games, and I like to play my game.
That's how you pass the time?
Yeah, so we don't fight. She can play her game by herself, and I can play my game by myself. Although you can have other people, and so it works out pretty good.
Yeah. Do you guys watch any shows, or are you baking anything during quarantine?
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah.
It's a little blurry. Oh, there she is.
And who's the other person?
I can't read it.
Can you read that now?
Oh, the Senate. Oh, the Senate ballot.
Yeah, he's running for the Senate, and she supported him. In fact, he made a big donation to him, a huge donation, some $80,000 or something like that.
She is a force. Honestly, like, she is such a force. I have been like feeling very inspired as of late, even with everything that's been going on, just because of the way I feel like I have a path and I have opportunity. And I'm an environmental studies major, so a lot of my activism focus is on environmental racism, but even still, seeing what I could do in those arenas, it gives me a lot of hope, for sure.
Yeah, we have some very, very sharp young people.
Absolutely.
And this is slipping up on me, because when I see these young people like yourself showing and demonstrating your comfort, your confidence, you're confident in yourself, and there are things that not only you do, but you like to do them, and they are what people at my age years ago would say, oh, girl, you're too young for that. But that's not it. That's not it anymore.
Not at all.
Teenagers are just knocking us out of the park now. And
for sure.
Because if I got a great granddaughter in Texas, were talking to her father not too long ago, and he would say, I go to bed around 9, 10 o'clock at night. He said, sometimes I get up around midnight and I see the light coming from under the door. It's in my daughter's bedroom. So I knock on the door. She said, come in. And there she's in there working. She is determined that she's going to be the most educated person in the family. And she's
As she
working
should.
hard. She's
As she
working hard.
should.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
queen energy right there.
and when she talks, we had her here in Annapolis 2, 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. Her grandmother brought them here, and we took them downtown Annapolis. This girl just looked and copied everything. And I got back, and she was asking me questions, and she's
That's
something
amazing.
else.
And I really do believe education is the key for so many people, you know?
Everything.
Yeah.
But see, education continues. Education before you go to college, education after you leave college, which means you're always learning.
Always learning.
Always learning something.
You should never have a fixed mindset.
And what college does is sort of disciplines you and so that you know how to find things. But now, you know, with Facebook and all of these other things out there, my grandson, my goodness, I can't bring anything up that doesn't have an answer to. And I tell
Or he
him,
could look it up in 3 seconds.
yeah. No, he and then I wonder, I says, I never see him doing it. So when is he looking it up? But he does. He spends his time doing it. Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the band on your arm.
Oh. This jersey is it comes from like a small shop, and they make jerseys for different like African countries. So this is my Niger jersey because I'm Nigerian.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I thought I would wear it today and just show some solidarity with family back home and stuff like that, you know, with everything that's going on. But
right.
I'll start sort of wrapping it up with my last sort of concluding question. It's kind of a big one.
Okay.
But it's kind of like advice, hope, sort of lasting things that you would give to these young people that you're talking about who are working to sort of, you know, go on and be educated and make change. What would you say to us, to me, to them, about the time that we're in right now and sort of how we can continue on?
I'm going to make it real simple.
Okay, I like that.
Doers do.
Doers do.
Doers do. Talkers talk.
Absolutely.
If you are a doer, you will always be in demand. People know who doers are because they see them doing and they see the results. If you're not a doer, you're not going to be very efficient at anything, because even when you're doing things, sometimes you have to do it over. You know, if you're sewing on that dress and you get out of line, you got to pull that string out and bring that through straight so that it would look good.
And would you say that when you're doing any advice for when you get stuck when you're doing things?
Well, that's it. When you're doing things, it's sort of hard to get stuck because you're going to have people around you that will always be there for you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
community is super
But
important.
if you're a talker, you're not going to have people around you because one, they can't get a word in edgewise, and two, uh, they're not gaining anything because they know that you're not learning. Because while you're talking,
Hmm.
you're not learning. But when you're doing, you're learning something that is so positive that you have people around you looking over your shoulder.
And helping you.
How did you do that?
Yeah.
We have a lady, I don't have a quilt here, but we have a lady that does quilts. And she has so many people that come to her house to help her sew. She's
Hmm.
as old as we are, but she's moving up in age. She is a retired professor, Dr. Joan Gaither. And her quilts tell stories, and they are historical quilts. That's where I come in because I'm really in this business now. And uh, all she has to do is start something. And when she
Hmm.
looks up, people are coming in the door, grabbing a table and saying, okay, what material do you want us to put together, and da 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 da. And that's what a team. What a team. And
Hmm.
you walk in, it's very quiet, everybody's working and just enjoying themselves. And you can tell uh, the professor, she's not professor, she's the logistician, I think, of the school, I believe. But you can tell her that on the Eastern Shore, they're going to have a big exhibit of her quilts at the
Hmm.
there in Salisbury, Maryland. And they're already over, and it's going to be huge. And she's done a quilt of American Black female leaders.
Wow.
And I think the last count I had, she had 350
Wow.
quilts. So the
That's,
quilt is huge.
yeah.
Uh, uh, there's a railing up above me here. You can see steps going up, and it cuts across. And sometimes she had to bring the quilts down and hang them down where I can get back over in this area and take the picture for her,
Take the
because
picture.
I am as a photographer, I shoot some of her pictures.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Projects like that are amazing too. That
yeah,
even thinking about your projects that you've done as well.
yeah.
um, that documentation of us and our narratives and our story is so important. So important.
Yes,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And you learned a few things here. I learned a few things here, and and we both grew by
absolutely.
having this conversation. See, because we were doing.
We were doing. We were talking and doing. But hopefully other people get the same from this interview. Hopefully there were some gems dropped that people can hold on to. I think doers do and talkers talk, even in its simplicity, is profound because
Right.
it's truth. And at the end of the day, if you're looking to get something done, you just got to go ahead and do it. And so I will definitely keep that with me because it's simple, but it is profound, for sure.
It is, and it's just a wonderful opportunity that you have to do this. And this is Brunt.
Yeah.
She
And
she
she
know
is,
she
talk
knows
about
how.
doers.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, uh, when she was at St. John's College, there's this guy that I happen to know, and I didn't know at the time that he was a graduate of St. John.
Mm-hmm.
St. John's is a unique college, and uh, she has an annual uh, African American program every year.
Mhm.
So she asked him if he would make a donation for it. He says, "How much is it?" She told him about how much it was. He says, "Oh, I'll do that." It's just that simple.
Just amazing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he and I are friends now, and so I got a chance to meet him,
Mhm.
and we we uh, we have a lot in common. So, for example, he's Caucasian, but and his wife, I think, is also a graduate of the school, and we just get along so well. And he's a great
That's so
cook.
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, do you have any other final things, either for me or for anything you want to leave with anyone before we finish up?
I was told by an officer that was writing my first efficiency report,
Hmm.
and he wrote, it was top notch, but he called me in. He says, "I'm going to cut you right here," and it had to do with uh, my not joining them at the officers club when I would get an invitation, because if I was doing something, I would want to finish it.
Hmm.
And he said, "I'm going to give you a nick right here so that you'll remember. Always take some time out for yourself." So always take some time out for yourself
Of
and
course.
enjoy life, because even when you get to that officers club, you're going
Hmm.
to learn something that's going to help you when you get back to your office.
Yeah.
And I learned that uh, not the hard way, because it was really to my advantage. Because my report was so good, I was promoted ahead of my contemporaries for the rest of my career.
Mm.
You know, if I was in the zone, I would be competing. But
Hmm.
the zone would be here, and I'm a few years away from being in that zone, but I would get promoted in that same zone.
Right.
So, so, so there are some advantages for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful thing to end on. I want to thank you so much for sitting and talking with me. It was such an honor. I feel like I learned a lot. Thank you for everyone who is tuning in to the Ask an Elder series. Hopefully, you feel the same way that I did.
Uh,
Hopefully, you all got a lot out of it. And thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
This message has been brought to you by the National Black Leadership and Empowerment Project.